Do you believe, as Aharon Haliva does, that October 7th justifies killing 50 Palestinians for every Israeli killed on October the 7th?
I think it's not a matter of numbers.
But that's what he said.
I don't think it's a matter
I'm
of
asking,
numbers.
do you agree that it's justified? He says for everything that happened October 7th, 50 Palestinians must die for every Israeli. Do you agree with that?
I will answer you very, very
You can't say no?
Mehdi Hasan had former Israeli ambassador Danny Ayalon to talk about Israel and Gaza. As you might expect, this became very heated with Mehdi Hasan really going after this former ambassador. We're going to take a look at clips from Mehdi Hasan's Teo channel to get into this heated debate. I'm going to share my thoughts on this as well. Let's get into it together.
Listen to what he was caught saying on tape in private. Danny, not only is that Israeli general openly endorsing the killing of Palestinian children and saying that October 7th justifies you guys killing 50 Palestinians for every Israeli, outrageously, but he also cites the Gaza Health Ministry's death toll at that time. He says 50,000 dead. General Haliva doesn't question it, so why are you?
Okay, so I have twofold answers. First of all, General Haliva misspoke. Secondly, he is not in uniforms anymore. He's retired. And thirdly, if you listen to him, what he says is what should be in his mind. He didn't say that, he said this is what should be the result. This is not
that's not true, Danny. He said there are already 50,000 dead in Gaza. He was acknowledging the death toll that you won't acknowledge.
Well, maybe, I don't know why he said that. Again, I think
because it's the truth, Danny. Because it's the truth in private. In private, Israelis admit to the truth. That's why he said it, surely.
No. I think what he said it in order to kind of make himself less vulnerable, because he is the one accused for not having the intelligence. He was the chief intelligence officer. But I'll tell you, Mehdi, there is one easy way to stop everything. Hamas leaving Gaza, not controlling Gaza, stop the terror and disarming, giving the Palestinians back their own government. The Hamas...
Hold on, Danny. They've agreed to step down from government, as Gershon Baskin and others have pointed out. But just sticking with this topic, do you believe, as Aharon Haliva does, that October 7th justifies killing 50 Palestinians for every Israeli killed on October the 7th?
I think it's not a matter of numbers.
But that's what he said.
I don't think it's a matter
I'm asking,
of numbers.
do you agree that it's justified? He says for everything that happened October 7th, 50 Palestinians must die for every Israeli. Do you agree with that?
I will answer you very, very
you can't say no? Danny, you can't say no?
What I want to say, what I want to say is that Israel does not act out of revenge, but out of self-defense. And this is what I believe in. This is what most Israelis believe in. And the culprit, it could be even more casualties on all sides. But what is the root cause? The root cause is Hamas. If we do not understand that, of course, this is not a departure point.
The rest of the world is saying the root cause is the occupation. But I do need to stick with this topic because it's very important. You mentioned ratios, right? You said Hamas is the root problem. You're fighting Hamas. How many Hamas fighters have been killed in your view? What is the ratio between civilians and fighters in your opinion?
Well, as much as I can tell, and I'm not in in Gaza these days. I'm not in the government these days. I'm talking as just regular Israelis who is exposed to the news, who knows some people. I believe that, again, the ratio would be maybe 3 to 1, 3 uninvolved, not more than that. And it's not that I justify, but it's just to explain.
Okay.
And this is the issue that Israel has.
You said you were exposed. You said you're exposed to the news, Danny. You must have seen the news from Plus 972 magazine in Israel and the Guardian newspaper in the UK that obtained from a classified Israeli military intelligence database Israel's own numbers showing that it's killed just under 9,000 Hamas fighters, maybe as low as 7,300 Hamas fighters, which means that per Israel's own internal calculations, 83% of the people killed in Gaza have been civilians. That's one of the highest civilian death rates in modern warfare, Danny. You have to go back to the Rwanda genocide in the mid-1990s to find a single conflict with a higher civilian death rate. That's one of the reasons why people say Gaza is a genocide. 5 out of every 6 Palestinians killed by Israel have been civilians, and that's according to Israel's own military intelligence.
So here, Mehdi, I beg to differ. My numbers show that at least 20,000 Hamas terrorists.
Where do you get your
killed.
numbers from? Because according to 972, there is no other place to check other than this database, which says a max of 8,900, maybe as low as 7,300 fighters. That's it. That's what you've killed.
I don't know why any of these Israeli officials or apologists or whatever they are would go on a show with Mehdi Hasan. You know, has this guy not seen any of Mehdi Hasan's interviews? Because it's not going to be like going on with CNN. Mehdi Hasan is going to rake these people over the coals as he does here. And Mehdi Hasan asked the type of question that I wish CNN and others would ask when he says, you know, a 50-to-1 ratio, do you accept that? And the guy stammers around and Mehdi Hasan says, you can't just say no. That's what always gets me with any of these apologists and these various figures that go on these shows, like Mehdi Hasan's show on Zateo, is they tie themselves into logic pretzels and they do all kinds of mental gymnastics to justify these things that they know are not justifiable. The guy has to know that a 50-to-1 casualty rate is not acceptable anywhere at any time.
Well, this is what I believe in. This is through some analysis that some people who were there, I was not there, but people who were there, and through evidence on the ground and extrapolation. But Mehdi, this is, I think, is a side issue, you know, whether it's 1 per 1, 2 per 1. The issue is, why did we have to go through this? Is Hamas really representing the Palestinian people? He is not. He is the one perpetrated the coup back in 2007.
But with respect, Danny,
we have to remember also, and I hope that your people, your audience remembers that Israel left Gaza altogether.
That's not true, Danny. That's not true, Danny. Danny, that's been debunked many times. You control the air, the sea waters, the land borders, the population registry. It's still considered occupied territory by the International Court of Justice, by the ICRC, by the UN Security Council. You say you want peace. You began the interview saying you want peace. You say that these ratios are irrelevant. All right, let's talk about specific examples then, not about ratios or percentages. On Monday, Israel struck the Nasser hospital not once, but twice, killing at least 20 people, including 5 journalists, multiple first responders who had rushed to the scene, Danny, after the first strike to pull people out of the rubble. And then they were hit. And 3 of those journalists were killed in a second strike, a double tap, the kind of thing that Al-Qaeda and ISIS in Iraq used to do, what Assad has done in Syria, what Putin has done in Ukraine. Those are war crimes, are they not? Attacking a hospital without warning, killing journalists, killing first responders in multiple strikes, and then saying it was a mistake. No, it was deliberate, cold-blooded.
Well, Mehdi, here I think we do agree on the facts on the ground. Why do we agree? Because it is investigated specifically. And this was something that, we do not do. So we are not acting
Hold on. You did it, Danny. Hold on. You can't say we do not do. You did it. Israel did it.
No, I'll tell you what's the difference. The difference is that Putin, Hamas, Assad, they never apologized for any death. Here, Netanyahu himself, the IDF, they said it was a mistake and we apologize. And when we apologize, it means we are going to investigate and correct the things. Hold on. But why do it in the first place? It wasn't an accident. You did a double tap strike on a hospital. An apology is not enough when you do a war crime like that. No. Well, from what I understand is that there was a position. See, that's part of the problem. You know, when Hamas is embedded, when Hamas is using their own population, their civil population as human shields, when they put, whether it's surveillance or guns on top of mosques and hospitals. There
were no guns on top of the Nasser hospital, as you know. That's a lie. Danny Ayalon, there were no guns on top of the Nasser hospital.
Mehdi,
that's a lie. Can we just clarify? That is a lie. There were no guns on top of the Nasser hospital.
Listen, you know that according to the Geneva Convention,
Yeah.
if a hospital or any other civilian place is used for terror, it's a legitimate target.
So
Now,
you did attack it deliberately.
There was,
hold on, is it an accident or did you attack it deliberately? You're telling me two different things at the same time.
it was, okay. It was attacked deliberately because the soldiers on the ground saw that there was a surveillance camera there that is directing snipers at them. Now, what was, from what I understand, what was the mistake? The mistake was that they did not use a pinpoint, drone, something, just at the camera. They used a tank. And this is what we're investigating. Who gave the order to do it with a tank? They shouldn't have done it with a tank.
Danny, isn't the problem here that you say there's an investigation? I've been following this conflict. I've been following Gaza for many years. You and I have spoken many times over the years. The Israeli investigations are worthless, are they not? Let me give you an example. In March. No. Well, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example, and then you can respond. Hold on, Danny. Let me give you an example, and then you can respond. In March, near Rafah, a group of 15 paramedics and aid workers driving in clearly marked emergency vehicles and uniforms were shot and killed by the Israeli military, who claimed after the killings that they were advancing suspiciously, that the lights were not on, that there were Hamas fighters on board, that they were in a combat zone. None of those things turned out to be true. Sky News, other media investigated this using satellite imagery, audio recordings. All of the Israeli claims turned out to be false. Israel admitted the claims were false. Those paramedics were killed in cold blood, one by one, according to the UN. Some from as close as 12 meters away. Gunshot wounds to the head and torso. Paramedics in uniform. They were then buried in a mass grave. Their ambulances were crushed. The entire thing was a cover-up. Israel says we're going to investigate it. Do you know how many soldiers were prosecuted as a result of that investigation? 0. The deputy commander was fired. Danny, 15 people were killed. Not a single Israeli soldier was charged, let alone prosecuted.
Because, I don't know about Sky News or whatever, but we are on the ground and Hamas was using them as cover. And again, the problem
there was no Hamas in those ambulances, Danny. We have the audio recordings. They were killed in cold blood.
No, Mehdi, no. If Hamas was not using their own people as, as cannon fodder, as human shields, none of this would have happened. And by the way, when I say that we left Gaza, and you say, yes, but we surrounded it. Why did we surround it? Because the arms of Hamas, had Hamas disarmed, Danny, Gaza would have turned into a Singapore.
Danny, we have video footage showing the ambulance had lights flashing, the logos were on, that they had come under fire. The big issue is here, you keep saying different things. You say it was a mistake, but we had to attack the hospital. You say there was an investigation, but there were Hamas on the ambulances.
And does anybody believe any of these stories anymore, these excuses, if they ever did? Mehdi Hasan certainly doesn't. And the guy says, oh, they made a mistake with the hospital. They've bombed hospitals multiple times. It certainly seems like a pattern with Israel in doing this, as Mehdi Hasan is repeatedly pointing out. And this Danny's claims with the strategies of Israel in this hospital that there was something on top of the hospital that they were supposed to take out, but instead they used a tank, blah, blah, blah. So when paramedics came in and they killed them too, was that just an accident? They couldn't figure out that when they did the double tap that those were paramedics coming in. Was that Hamas as well? And then with this incident that Mehdi Hasan brings up about the aid workers, that was just a mistake. It sure seems like in this Danny's mind that Israel makes a whole lot of mistakes. And he talks about Netanyahu apologizing. If you just keep killing civilians and aid workers and paramedics and doing double taps and all of that, do you just get to apologize over and over again? Does Israel just say, oh, yeah, we made a mistake again. Oh, what do you know? We did a double tap. Oh, sorry, it was a mistake. Oh, we killed aid workers and paramedics. Oh, you know what? That was a mistake. Sorry. Again, there's no justification for any of this. Mehdi Hasan knows. I would think that this Israeli spokesperson that he has on his show would have to know. The world sees all of this. There's no justification for what's going on. A 50-to-1 ratio of deaths is not acceptable. As Mehdi Hasan points out, it's similar to Rwanda years ago. And at some point, we need to have some real leadership in the United States stand up to Netanyahu and Israel. Who that's going to be, we don't know. But we've seen the pushback within the Democratic Party that the base is saying they're not going to support any candidates who support continuing to give money and weapons to Israel. This is all part of about a 45-minute debate on Mehdi Hasan's show with Mehdi Hasan and Danny Ayalon. So if you want to watch the whole thing, go to Mehdi Hasan's Zateo channel. It's excellent. Mehdi Hasan is always, like I said, I don't know why anybody who has any familiarity with Mehdi Hasan would go and debate him, particularly about Israel. Maybe this guy didn't know what he was getting into, but it's great for Mehdi Hasan to expose these Israel apologists because you're not going to get that in mainstream media. But let me know what you think about all of this. Do you agree with the points that Mehdi Hasan is making here? Is there any justification for a 50-to-1 ratio in deaths and a death rate of 88% civilians? I don't know how anyone can justify that. But let me know what you think. I'm definitely on the side of Mehdi Hasan. Make sure to comment, make sure to give me a like and subscribe. I am Chris on Culture, and I will see you in the next video.